There is a shipping container sitting outside a data center in Arizona right now that is generating 1 megawatt of electricity from sunlight. No solar panels in the conventional sense, no grid connection, no natural gas backup, no cooling towers consuming millions of gallons of water. Just a box. A thermally engineered box that concentrates sunlight, stores that energy as heat in a material that costs less than gravel, and releases it as electricity on demand, including through the night, including through cloudy days, and including at the precise moment an AI training run spikes its power draw by 40% with 0 seconds of warning. The company that built that box is called Exowatt. They are based in Miami. They raised $20 million in seed funding in 2024 with backing from OpenAI's Sam Altman. And in 2026, they are deploying modular units that each deliver 1 megawatt to data center operators who are facing an energy crisis so acute that the entire artificial intelligence industry, $200 billion in annual investment and growing, is genuinely at risk of running out of power before it runs out of ideas. The utility grid cannot build fast enough. Natural gas peaker plants take 3 to 5 years to permit and construct. Nuclear is a decade away at minimum. Solar farms feed the grid during the day and abandon data centers to battery reserves and gas turbines the moment the sun sets. And the AI workloads that are doubling in power consumption every 18 months do not pause for grid constraints, maintenance windows, or the geological pace of conventional energy infrastructure development. Exowatt built a box that solves this problem with thermodynamics that are older than the electrical grid, manufacturing costs that approach commodity pricing, and a deployment timeline measured in weeks rather than years. And the story of how they got there, what the technology actually does, and why the conventional energy industry is watching it with the particular discomfort of incumbents recognizing disruption they cannot easily acquire or absorb. That story is worth understanding completely. Before we go any further, if this is the kind of knowledge they would rather keep inside boardrooms than open to the public, hit the like button right now and subscribe to Lost Tech Vault. Every video we publish here is a door the establishment spent money keeping locked. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss the next one we open. To understand what Exowatt built, you need to understand the problem they were solving, because the scale of that problem is what makes the simplicity of their solutions so disorienting to the industry facing it. A modern hyperscale data center consumes between 100 and 500 megawatts of continuous electrical power. A single large AI training run, the kind that produces a frontier language model, can consume as much electricity as 10,000 American homes use in a year, compressed into weeks of continuous maximum draw operation. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta collectively announced over $300 billion in data center capital expenditure for 2025 and 2026. Every one of those facilities needs power, guaranteed, continuous, dispatchable power that arrives when the workload demands it, regardless of what the sun is doing, what the wind is doing, or what the grid operator is managing at that moment. The grid is not designed for this. Electrical grids were engineered around the assumption that demand grows slowly and predictably, measured in percentage points annually. AI infrastructure demand is growing in multiples. Grid interconnection queues in the United States currently contain over 2,600 gigawatts of proposed generation projects waiting for connection approval, a backlog that at current processing rates will take decades to clear. Data center operators cannot wait decades. Their capital is deployed now, their facilities are being built now, and their power problem is arriving faster than any conventional solution can address it. This is the specific gap that Exowatt identified. Not the long-term grid decarbonization problem, not the utility-scale renewable transition problem. The immediate, urgent, commercially critical problem of delivering 1 to 10 megawatts of reliable power to a data center site within weeks of an order being placed, at a cost that pencils against natural gas without a carbon credit subsidy. The physics inside the Exowatt box is where the story becomes genuinely remarkable. Because the core principle is not new, it is not experimental, it is not waiting for a material science breakthrough that may or may not arrive. It is thermodynamics that any 19th century engineer would have recognized immediately. Concentrating solar power, using mirrors or lenses to focus sunlight onto a small area and generate intense heat, has been understood since Archimedes. The challenge that defeated every previous attempt to make it work at small modular scale was thermal storage. Concentrating solar plants built at utility scale in the Mojave Desert use molten salt to store heat, but molten salt systems require enormous insulated tanks, complex pumping infrastructure, and operational temperatures that demand exotic materials and continuous maintenance. Everything that makes molten salt storage viable at 500 megawatt scale makes it completely impractical at 1 megawatt modular scale. Exowatt's breakthrough was not in the concentration mechanism, it was in the storage material. Their thermal storage medium is a phase change material, a substance that absorbs enormous amounts of energy when transitioning from a solid to a liquid state, and releases that same energy when transitioning back. The specific material in the Exowatt system has a cost profile approaching industrial sand, a thermal storage density that outperforms molten salt in their target temperature range, and a stability profile across thousands of charge-discharge cycles that their testing data documents without the degradation curves that plague electrochemical battery storage. The system charges during daylight hours as concentrated sunlight drives the storage material through its phase transition, accumulating thermal energy at temperatures high enough to drive a heat engine at meaningful efficiency. When power is demanded day or night, peak sun or overcast, the stored thermal energy drives that heat engine, which drives a generator, which delivers electricity to the data center load. The round-trip efficiency numbers Exowatt has published are competitive with lithium-ion battery storage for their target use case without lithium, without cobalt, without the fire risk that has caused multiple high-profile battery storage facility incidents in recent years, and without the 10-year replacement cycle that makes large-scale lithium storage economics progressively less attractive as installations age. The deployment model is where Exowatt separates itself from every previous attempt to commercialize modular concentrating solar power. The unit ships in a standard configuration, designed to arrive at a data center site and begin generating power within weeks of delivery. No specialized foundation, no grid interconnection permit required for behind-the-meter installation, no fuel delivery logistics, no water consumption for cooling. The concentrating optics, thermal storage core, and heat engine are integrated into a package that a data center operator can deploy at the edge of their facility the same way they deploy a diesel generator, with one key difference: the fuel is sunlight, the storage is phase change material that does not expire, and the operating cost after installation approaches zero. At 1 megawatt per unit, a single Exowatt deployment does not power a hyperscale data center, but a cluster of 20 units delivers 20 megawatts, enough to power a meaningful AI inference facility or to provide critical backup and peak shaving for a larger grid-connected installation. At 50 units, you are approaching the power envelope of a small data center operating completely off-grid in a Sunbelt location. At the manufacturing cost trajectory Exowatt has publicly described, targeting costs below $1 per watt at scale, the economics against natural gas generation become compelling without subsidy, without carbon pricing, and without the fuel price volatility that made gas-dependent data center operators acutely uncomfortable during every energy price spike of the last decade. I want to be precise with you here because this story deserves accuracy alongside its excitement. Exowatt is a company in early commercial deployment, not a mature technology with a decade of operational data across diverse climate conditions. Their published efficiency figures come from controlled testing and initial deployments, not from a fleet of thousands of units operating across the full range of weather variability, dust accumulation, and thermal cycling that long-term field operation delivers. The heat engine at the core of their system, most likely a Stirling or similar external combustion configuration, has its own maintenance requirements and efficiency characteristics that will determine long-term economics in ways that early deployment data cannot fully predict. Cloud cover and seasonal solar variation affect thermal charging rates in ways that require either oversized arrays, supplemental energy sources, or acceptance of variable output, operational considerations that data centers running deterministic AI workloads need clear answers for before committing infrastructure budgets. These are real engineering questions that deserve honest acknowledgement. Exowatt's technology is not a completed story. It is a developing one. But the problem it is solving is not developing. It is here, it is acute, and it is getting more acute every quarter as AI capital expenditure accelerates past the grid's ability to follow. The utility grid took 100 years to build. AI infrastructure is trying to double every 18 months. Something in that equation has to give. And a box that makes 1 megawatt from sunlight and phase-change material and ships in a container is a more credible answer to that gap than anything the conventional energy industry has produced on the relevant timeline. The physics of concentrating solar thermal has been understood since Archimedes focused sunlight in Syracuse. The challenge of thermal storage at small modular scale defeated every previous attempt to commercialize it. Exowatt identified a phase-change material that solves that storage problem at commodity cost, integrated it with concentrating optics and a heat engine in a shippable container, and began deploying it to data centers facing a power crisis that $300 billion in capital expenditure created faster than the electrical grid can respond to. The AI industry needed power that the grid cannot deliver on the timeline AI requires. A box arrived that makes power from sunlight and stores it in material that costs less than gravel. The conventional energy industry watched it arrive with the discomfort of institutions that took a century to build infrastructure that a shipping container is beginning to route around. The box is in Arizona, the deployments are happening, the physics is documented, and the $200 billion AI industry that needs power yesterday is paying very close attention to what that box does next. Subscribe to Lost Tech Vault. Share this with someone who thinks the energy crisis powering AI has no solution the establishment did not already build. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside it is heavier than this one.